here. Hi.
Yay! Hi.
Hi.
All right, you can see me okay. Yay.
I can see you okay, loving where you are. I like how we were talking earlier about like doing our hair for Instagram Lives because we just don't have to really do it anymore.
I know. I put on earrings and I like actually curled my hair and it actually feels really good. I miss sort of getting ready to like go out into the world.
I know. I know. Well, this will work then too. So thank you so much for doing this with me. I feel like I didn't do you justice in your introduction. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, what you like to do, and kind of what you're venturing into?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Stephanie and I live in San Francisco. And I'm so excited to be here and talking to you all about brand strategy and finding your niche. I started my career at Pop Sugar, actually. That was my first job out of college, and I was doing social media there, and I love being in this creative space. And then I moved around to Peerspace, the startup, where you can book, event spaces and production spaces. And I loved supporting creatives at Peerspace. It was so cool to see like the community using the platform to do creative and cool things. And then I also worked at a small boutique PR agency called Made. So I've kind of bounced around. And then just in January, I decided that I wanted to go to a yoga teacher training. And I went to Bali. And this was like it was actually in March, was when COVID hit and all of that. And so I came back from Bali and I have this new yoga certification. And I just decided I wanted to launch my own business. So so I'm really excited to officially be this brand strategy consultant. Marketing, I love helping people with basically how we can help creative entrepreneurs show themselves to the world. So the online and digital presence is so important, especially right now. So I love talking to wellness professionals or creative entrepreneurs and really getting to know who they are and then making that come to life online. And so that is what I'm venturing out to do. And then what I've also been doing is working and building out my yoga business. So I also teach yoga and I teach live classes. And so it's been really fun because I've got to build my own personal brand as well. So yeah, that's a little about me in a nutshell.
So good. So good. I love a good journey like that. I feel like a lot of the people I work with come from more like a tech or corporate background and they start getting the bug of like, I'm going to work for myself. And you're bringing all that background, all those skill sets to now serve other people, but also to serve yourself, to kind of build your own brand too. So today we're talking about finding your niche and the 3 things that all great personal brands know. So tell me, why is niching even important?
Yeah, great question. So finding your niche is important and niching is important because there are so many options now in the world and it's really hard. It can be a challenge to sort of stick out in the world and like figure out what sets you apart. And so having your own niche allows you to connect with consumers or clients or customers in a more authentic way. And so a little bit about like what your niche is or what a niche is, which I think is important also just to clarify. It's this beautiful thing that happens when you can figure out like what your skills are. So what are some things that you can do that like you can do with your eyes closed? Like time passes really quickly, or maybe friends just come to you all the time and be like, what should I do with this? Or I need help like editing my photos. Like I'm sure people come to you all the time for that. So it's like, that's your skill set. And then what are your passions? So like what do you enjoy? And I like to think of this as like, just time goes really quickly. Like you get in the flow state. Like, what do you love to do? For me, that's like cooking, that's yoga, things like that. And then the last one is what are your audience needs or solutions? So you want to ideally find like your skills and your passions and then what your audience needs. And then you find your niche right in the middle. And there's this thing in Japan called Ikigai, which I don't know if you've heard of before, but I love it. And it's a very similar sort of mindset about they add another layer of like what the world needs. And so if you can find all of those things, then you've sort of nailed down your personal niche. And from there, you can really build out your personal brand and connect with people in an authentic way.
I love that. I love that. So it's like your skill set, what you could do with your eyes closed. I call that like when you're in the flow. Plus what you really like enjoy doing, what your audience needs, and then on top of that, what the world needs too. And that Venn diagram of that. I will also give you a shout out. I know I didn't say I would talk to you about this, but you're the one who invited me to the Equitable Anti-Racist Creativepreneur Circle. And I love that because that is what our world needs now, and that's us taking like our specialty and how can we promote this goodness into what the world really needs now. And I just want to applaud you and pat you on the back that you're doing a great job on this. So if you go to stephmwong.com, you can see her anti-racist statement loud and proud on her page. So thank you for doing that. But now, so we know the importance of niching, but give us some practicals, like how do we go about that?
Yeah, great question. Okay, so I would say the first thing you should do is once you've sort of figured out what your offerings are, like what your passion is, like say maybe for me, for example, I'm teaching yoga is an example. I have like the brand strategy side and this yoga side. So first I need to figure out who my audience is. And this is really important for building your personal brand, for businesses as well. It's like, who are you trying to help, who you're trying to serve, and then what are their needs? And so I call my like yoga persona my work from home millennial. So they are like a millennial, they probably are working from home and they're probably sitting a lot. And maybe they also are recently unemployed, so they don't have a ton of extra cash. So I'm thinking about all of their like psychographics, their demographics. I'm really getting crystal clear on like who they are. I talk to people that are my target persona, so different friends that are maybe this persona, and then I can get some insight into what their audience needs are, and that really helps me define like what my offerings are, how much they cost. So getting really clear on who you're trying to serve first is a helpful step. And you can have multiple audiences as well, but it's great to have like a couple really clear audiences to start with.
That's great. And then should it, because I know some people, I'm an accidental business owner in the sense that like people ask me to start doing stuff and I just started taking photos of them and I more backtracked. I'm like, oh, I guess that's who my audience is because it was who was already serving. So is there a way, should we do it by people we're already serving? Or should we like set out our dream audience and then go after it?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I feel like you can kind of do both, like, and your audience can change. So for me, my audience is like my network right now, which are, I'm a millennial and I'm working from home. So like I'm reaching those people naturally. But you can start to see like that might evolve or that might change, or maybe I eventually really want to serve, like I'm also teaching yoga to middle schoolers right now. And maybe that's like an area that I like really want to grow. And, you know, what the world needs is like middle school. I remember myself as a middle school student, I was super insecure, like all of these things. Right. So I think it's a little bit of both. And I think a good thing though, is to like see who's naturally reaching out to you. And, so I think how you did it is really great, and it can kind of change and evolve over time.
That's so good. Okay, so then that's our first thing, really finding out who our target audience is and knowing them so well. What is the second thing that all personal brands know?
Yeah, the second thing is something kind of marketing jargon lingo, but it's called your unique selling point or your USP, which is basically what makes you stand out. So figuring out like what is unique and what is authentic to you. There are so many, again, so much out there, so much noise. And it's amazing. There's so many creative people doing great things, but like for a yoga teacher, for example, there are hundreds of yoga teachers out there. There are so many YouTube videos. So really figuring out like what your unique selling point is super important. I think I might have lost you.
I'm here. Did it work?
Oh, you're back. You're back. Okay, great. And
I was still hearing you the whole time, so I'm like,
oh, good.
And And then how does one discover that? How do you find that unique
stand out in
selling?
the world. And maybe it's like you as a yoga teacher is like, or maybe you're you know, a life coach, like, but who do you want to serve as a life coach? And like, what is your unique selling point? Especially like thinking about your background. Yeah, I think that's super important to have too.
How did you discover your USP?
That's a great question. For me, at least for the brand, I'm going to talk more about the brand strategy side. So for me, um, something that I actually reached out to friends and people that knew me and family that loved me, and I asked for like personal testimonials of like what's my skill set, because sometimes I feel like we don't champion ourselves enough, or we are so in the weeds in our own head that we don't know what our like big strengths are. And a theme that came to mind was this idea of how I can kind of make things visually look really good, and also how I can I I can connect with people and make them feel really safe. And so it was a little bit of this personal skill, and then this sort of an eye for what looks good. And so that's how I discovered my like secret sauce is branding, like visual branding, but more focused on the person, not just not just about like I wanted it to feel a little bit more authentic. So I was listening to what other people were saying about me, which it can be really helpful. And I recommend, especially if you're just starting out, like really asking your friends and family to give you testimonials, not only of like what you're good at, but also what you can work on. It's really, really insightful.
I love that. I feel like that could be a form of self-care too. Just like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
can you build me up real quick? Can you tell me
I
what you
have,
see in
I
me?
have, totally. I have like a living doc of like, it's called my personal testimonials, and it's like my hype doc. And I just look at it when I need like a little bit of motivation.
Okay, love that. I feel like you should sell that as a template. Writing that down, hype doc.
I should.
That's so good. Okay, so we know our audience.
Yes.
We might know our unique selling point, or we can get our network or friends and family to tell us about that. What is the third thing we need to know?
So the third thing, the third thing to me is the next most important thing is your mission statement. So, and the mission statement is basically, why are you doing what you're doing? So I worked with a client and we were building out his yoga business. And I was, you know, he was talking to me about like all of his offerings and what he wants to do. And I kind of wanted to get into but like, why? Like, why are you wanting to offer yoga? Why is that important? And I think that is where you can distill like what you're on a mission to do, whether it's a service or whether it's selling a product. Why are you doing what you're doing? And a good place to start for this is figuring out like what your values are, your personal values, your brand values. It's this like code of ethics of like, you know, for me, my values are like kindness. My values are non-judgment. I have like these list of values, and then when you look at that, and then I also look at my audience, it kind of all it's like why am I doing what I'm doing, and who I want to serve. And this might take some time to craft, and it's often easier to do it with somebody. So this is something I help people with, is figure out what their mission is, because so the one, just to give you an example of like what my mission statement is, and it took a long time to like really craft, because I'm combining my brand strategy and my yoga side, so it's kind of both things. But so combining my marketing background and passion for wellness, my mission is to help creative entrepreneurs and small businesses pursue their dreams. Whether that's through yoga or launching your business, I'm here to support you every step of the way. So that's an example of a mission statement. And yeah, that's the third thing. And then once you have all of those things, you have your target audience, you have your USB, you have your mission, then you can really start to like bring this personal brand, or bring your brand to life online, through social media, all the various touch points. So yeah, hopefully that long-winded answer, but that's what you need.
I like it. You gave us all the ingredients to the secret recipe of how these personal brands or great brands really stand out. I just want to reiterate the importance of a mission statement. I was like 2 or 3 years into business before I really solidified that. And
Yeah.
it does take work, and it takes a lot of introspection. It takes like really being out in the world and seeing what the world needs and what sits right with you. But I will say that it's so good to have a solid mission statement, because as the world constantly changes, hello 2020, what a curveball. um, it's helped me know how to show up and what to say yes to and what to say no to. Because if my values are integrity, humor, and authenticity, how can I show up well in this time of being in a pandemic, or being in a place of uh, social unrest, right? And I know now how my brand can show up because I have those things worked on already. So I reiterate that. I think that is so, so helpful. And I
Yeah.
love that you offer walking with people, supporting people as they figure it out. Because you're right, it's complicated. It's
Mhm.
a lot to flesh out. And so if people wanted to work with you, how would they find you?
Yeah. So my website, stephmwong.com, and /brand strategy is where you can see my brand strategy, my services, my offerings, and there's a little form on there, and you can just get in touch. Send me your email, and I'll reach out, and we can just do a kickoff call, so I can figure out what your goals are and what you want to work on. And yeah, I'm also on Instagram at stephmwong, which you can see right here.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so then follow this girl, send her a message, have her help you walk through a lot of these things. But let's, business aside, it is Friday, so let's do a lot more fun questions now. Rapid fire. Favorite Netflix?
Okay. Almond butter.
Almond butter,
Hands
hands down.
down.
Favorite dessert?
Ooh, I've been really into ice cream lately. Peanut butter, like chocolate ice cream. It's been my jam.
Soul Sisters, I hear you. Okay, this is a fun one because you're also in the
Okay.
city. What is your favorite street in San Francisco?
Ooh, that is a good one. Favorite street. I haven't thought about this, but I used to live on 18th and Sanchez, so I'm just gonna say 18th because you get like Byrite, you get Dolores, you get, if you keep going up, you get all these other fun neighborhoods. So 18th.
18th. I call that Gourmet Row because there's so many good food places on
Mm.
18th Street.
Mm-hmm. I like
Bless.
it. Yes.
That is so, so good. Well, thank you so much for dropping some knowledge about brands here.
Yeah.
I appreciate you. I can't wait for us to be able to see each other in real life so I can give you that walnut coconut butter.
Yes, I'm so excited. Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
Yeah, it was so, so fun. I will be able to share this later so everyone can access it. But thank you. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, my friend.
Okay. You too.
Bye.
Bye.
Talk to you
Take
soon.
care.